Let's talk to Bob Seeley, former Conservative MP for the Isle of Wight, of course. Bob, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Very nice to have you back. I mean, purdah is one of the most dreadful things where we're not allowed to talk to anybody meaningful because, of course, we then have to talk to all the other candidates. But it's good to get you back on. Good to talk to you. Lots to discuss, I suppose. I guess a week on from the start of the new Labour government. What are you making of it so far?
Well, look, I mean, for those of us who've lost our seats, we're pretty much still sort of wondering what's going to be happening to our own party. As regards Labour, I mean, the thing, look, they're going to have a honeymoon period, and I genuinely wish them well because they've got a lot of problems to solve and maybe a fresh pair of eyes, looking at the NHS, looking at other things. Fair enough. What worries me slightly is that, look, on the Isle of Wight, immediately, what did we lose? Yesterday, we lost exceptional circumstance where they're now tearing up all the changes that we made to the national planning rules. And a lot of those rules that we negotiated with the then government and Michael Gove was actually about how to improve planning, not just saying no, but just saying yes to lots of other things. And I fear now that we're just going to be, Labour's going to be at odds and at war with Middle England because it's just going to be heavily dependent on greenfield development. Secondly, just on today, just very briefly, no commitment to 2.5 defence and effectively a strategic review, really to do nothing more than buy a lot of time. So, look, I wish them well, and especially if they can do reform in the NHS, they're in a better place than we are to do that. But we'll see. But it's unimpressive so far.
Yeah, let's pick up, first of all, on the housing announcements this week from Rachel Reeves. I mean, she started the speech with saying, we're going to build more houses. But I haven't yet spoken to anyone who knows anything about building or houses or planning who thinks that it's even an achievement that's possible, not least in the numbers in which they say they're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back a couple of years ago, 38,000 new homes were built in London, an astonishingly bad record. And I'm afraid to say, look, if you look at the how this actually works, the process of this, Mike, what you'll see is that a lot of the reasons why a lot of building isn't taking place in cities is because you have left-wing councils that are refusing, for example, to give planning permission to turn office blocks into homes. Because on effectively ideological grounds that they don't like office blocks being turned into homes, especially starter homes. So you've got a lot of really, it's very difficult to get change through the system. And one of the things that Michael Gove was trying to do was actually speed up the way that big cities do planning and do development. I'm afraid to say I think what's going to happen is you're going to have massive amounts of speculation on greenfield development. A lot of it will get passed. It'll just get bought and sold over the next decade as people make more money by sitting on that planning. And I don't think you're going to get anything in the short term. What you need in the short term is the stuff that Michael was trying to do, which is to drive through higher density, quicker development in our inner cities and actually because that's where the young people want to live.
Well, exactly right, because that's where the work is, to be honest. But, yeah, I mean, you'll find it probably quite ironic, as I did this morning. I don't know if you've seen the Daily Telegraph, but Matthew Pennycook, who's Labour MP for Greenwich and Woolwich, and also happens to be the new housing minister, himself actually tried to put a stop to a development in his own constituency back in 2021 because he called it wholly inappropriate and it would have detrimental impact on local heritage.
Yeah, look, all these people are, to put it bluntly, they're all complete hypocrites. Lisa Nandy.
Yes.
She was, when she was doing the same job, was opposing development in her own patch, whilst demanding that we speculate on more greenfield sites over southeast England. I mean, it's absurd. I mean, it really is. And as I say, I just think that the interesting thing is politically, there's probably 150 Labour MPs, including now in the Isle of Wight West, who are immediately going to be supporting policies that are going to be very unpopular with a lot of residents. So like onshore wind, like lots of, extensive urban sprawl over the countryside, rather than focusing development, which is what we were trying to do, in the inner cities and actually getting higher density. We have the lowest density housing in Europe on average overall. So you look at Barcelona, 15,000 people per square kilometre. You look at Sheffield, for example, 1,500 people per square kilometre. We need, and nobody complains about living in Barcelona, as far as I can see.
Not that I can see either. No, but I mean that's the trouble. An awful lot of the building that has been going on as well. And I take your point that you were trying to do it differently in cities and things, but certainly in places like Sussex, where I spend a fair bit of time, there's an awful lot of housing developments that go up. But there's no thought really given to the infrastructure. The roads are not changed, so the roads become incredibly busy. The schools become incredibly overcrowded. The doctors' offices aren't simply able to cope. There's no more hospital space than there was before. There's no kind of joined-up thinking, as we used to call it.
No, there isn't. And the problem is that's just going to get worse because I think there's an ideological delight on behalf of some people in the Labour Party that they want to put these communities under pressure. But at the same time, they don't seem to want to develop in their own city and town constituencies. So I can see this going wrong for Labour quite badly because I think they're going to alienate people without actually fixing the problem. And as I said, I know everyone thought that we were against building. Actually, what we were against was this continuation of thoughtless, low density, bad for the environment, car dependent, soulless greenfield developments. And what we wanted to do was to find a better way of doing that development in inner cities, higher density. So you preserve the countryside and you build in the cities because that's where the services are, that's where the schools and the shops and the jobs are, especially for young people. And we still need to be doing that. And my worry is it won't get done.
Just quickly on defence, Bob, this strategic review of the Department of Defence seems to be rather long-winded. It seems to be going to be going on for at least a year.
Yeah, no, look, okay, on the positive side, I think John Healey is actually one of the best people in the Labour Party. I think he's proved to be competent, decent. He's got integrity in the way he deals with his political opponents. We saw that in the last Parliament. And actually, genuinely, I wish him well, because I think he will be, as far as Labour politicians go, John Healey will be a very good Defence Secretary. I don't think he'll get listened to, and apparently Angela Rayner doesn't like him. So there's all sorts of internal drama. But Healey himself, to be fair, is a good man, and he will do his best. The problem is, this is just designed to kick this issue into the long grass to save money, whilst they tax us all more for pensioners and everyone else, and spend that money on, their pet projects. They're not going to be spending it on defence, and actually, all that means is we're becoming increasingly dependent on the US. We're not going to be pulling our weight. And my worry is, and look, maybe we were doing this a little bit in the last Parliament as well, we're talking the talk, but not always walking the walk. And I'm worried that if that continues, we're going to be in a really bad position in 2 or 3 years' time, because the Ukraine war is going on. It's getting worse. More people are dying. The Russians can afford to lose 250,000 injured dead a year. And so far, they've just survived without a political or social uprising. So we need to be focusing on defence. I think Healey probably does, to give him his credit. As I say, I think he's a decent man and one of their best ministers, but I don't think he'll get listened to. And the strategic review, we don't actually need a strategic review right now. We've had one quite recently. This is just designed to make sure that they don't have to meet any spending, and effectively they can fail to meet their defence spending commitments. Defence people don't vote on defence. My worry is we're going to regret this big time if we don't build up our defence now.
And as far as the Tory party is concerned, I mean, they've elected a new 1922 committee. Are you still going to be involved in it from outside of Parliament? What are your plans?
I've actually got a book to finish on the Russian war, actually. I'm trying to write the sort of basic guide to new Russian warfare, but also this new forms of revolutionary war. So I've got to deliver that by November. Definitely stay engaged, and definitely keen to stay involved here on the island and nationally as well. I'm supporting Kemi because I like Robert Jenrick very much. I think he's a good man, and I think I like Kemi, and I think both of them can save us. I don't think anyone who is not serious about tackling reform can do that. So I'm definitely supporting Kemi however I can, because I think that if we want to see off the reform threat and actually keep our united bloc of both One Nation and more conservatives, I think the only person who can deliver that, well, there's two, probably Rob can deliver it, and probably Kemi, but I think Kemi is a standout conviction politician of our generation, and I really hope she gets it, because if she does, I think we've got a good chance of getting straight back in. You look at the numbers. I mean, the thing that, I don't know if you saw this, Mike, the thing that I find extraordinary is that Labour have won their landslide, and it is a landslide, but it's an anti-Tory landslide, not a Labour landslide. They've won their landslide, on 33.7% vote?
Well, yeah, and unbelievably, with a lesser share of the vote in a way than Jeremy Corbyn even had.
A lot less. No, there's no in a way, a categorically considerably smaller vote. Corbyn got nearly 40%. I thought we got 42 in 17, and he got 40. Jeremy Corbyn got 40% of the vote, and then 32 or something, and Starmer has increased that by 1.5%. Right. So this is not a pro-Labour vote that we saw last week. It was. Look, I mean, let's be honest about it. It was an absolutely anti-Tory vote, because either we weren't seen to be conservative enough, so people went off and voted reform, or they were sick of the division, in which case they stayed at home. So thank you for those people who stayed loyal, both on the Isle of Wight and elsewhere. We've got a great new Joe Robertson, a great new MP in the East Wight. A Conservative MP, which is great. Sadly, our vote was about the same size in the West, but because of how others voted, we put a Labour MP in. But yeah, no, look, I think if we've got a chance next time, all we need is a 6% swing next time, and Labour's majority goes up in smoke. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to play for, and I think Kemi's the person to do it.
Okay. Well, Bob, good to talk to you. Nice to have you back. We'll see you again soon, I'm sure.